Rangers are full of controversies and chaos right now. Todd Cantwell explained why he chose to leave Rangers, and it seems like there's some tension with Clement. In today's video, we'll also talk about Danilo spotted at Glasgow Airport after shock Rangers development. James Tavernier offered an exit route from Rangers following Old Firm abuse. Scott Wright reveals the reason behind his Rangers exit for a League One move. Haji is said to be angry and stressed at Rangers, frozen out by Philippe Clement. Philippe Clement handed a boost with Rabbi Matondo after Rangers' injury update. Make sure to hit the like button on the video because we are packed with news today, just for you. And drop a comment saying Celtic the bandwagon fans. Danilo spotted at Glasgow Airport, eh? It's always a wee bit unsettling when one of your main men is seen at the airport, especially when it's not for a European away day. The big Brazilians had a rough go of it since joining from Feyenoord for a decent chunk of change. £6 million is hardly pocket money for us. You'd have hoped for him to light up Rangers by now, but injuries seem to be giving him more attention than the opposition defense. Now being left out of the Europa League squad. That's a bit of a kick in the teeth, isn't it? Especially with us needing all hands on deck after a shaky start to the season. It's not like Clement has a bottomless pit of strikers to choose from. But you can't really blame the gaffer for keeping Danilo out if he's struggling to stay fit. Rumors about him needing more surgery were swirling, but apparently that's just speculation. Thankfully, because we don't need any more bad news this year. And then there's Cyril Desires, who's doing his best to step up in Danilo's absence. A few goals here and there have been papering over the cracks, but let's be honest, some of those performances have been about as smooth as a hangover on Sochi Hall Street. You get the feeling that if Danilo had been firing on all cylinders, Desires might not even have got a look in. But here we are, hoping Danilo's recuperation, wherever he's headed, brings him back stronger. The reality is we're gonna need Danilo fit and hungry if we're to salvage anything from this season. Here's hoping that when he returns to Rangers, it's for more than just a cameo appearance on the injury list. Here we go again. James Tavernier and another round of transfer speculation. Seems like every time things go a bit pear-shaped on the pitch, the rumors about Tav packing his bags start swirling. After that Old Firm loss, it's no surprise there's been some heat, but to see him getting abuse from the fans, that's a hard one to swallow. I get it. Passions run high, especially when Celtic come away with the points, but Tav's been a loyal servant for years, dragging us through some tough times with that magic right foot of his. Over 400 games, 125 goals. Honestly, where are you finding another fullback with those numbers? Now, it sounds like clubs from Turkey and Qatar are sniffing about again, with the transfer deadline still open over there. Istanbul Basaksehir, Fenerbahce, Galatasaray, the usual suspects, and even his old pal Gio van Bronckhorst at Besiktas is keeping an eye on things. And the Qatari clubs, Al Arabi and Al Gharafa, are also throwing their hats in the ring, waving their big pay packets. Tav apparently turned down interest from Saudi Arabia and Turkey earlier in the summer, wanting to stay focused on the title race. But you do wonder, after the abuse and with Rangers willing to consider a deal, if his head might be turned this time. It's got to be tough for him, especially if he's feeling like the pressure's all on his shoulders. He's the last man standing from that heroic run to the Europa League final in 2022. And if he does leave, it'll feel like the end of an era at Rangers. But let's be honest. If he does go, filling his boots is going to be a nightmare. Whoever comes in better be ready to face the weight of expectation that comes with wearing that captain's armband and filling those goal-scoring boots. Well, Todd Cantwell's exit from Rangers has certainly stirred the pot, hasn't it? After being one of the key lads who helped us overtake Celtic, the man was primed to become a bit of an Rangers hero. But instead, when things got sticky, he's packed his bags and legged it to Blackburn Rovers. I mean, £3.4 million spent on Nedim Badrami to replace him shows we weren't messing about. But still, you can't help but feel it's a case of what could have been. Cantwell's been pretty vocal about his reasons, claiming the atmosphere changed after the gaffer switch, and to be fair, when Philippe Clement came in, you could see how he'd want to put his own stamp on things. Cantwell reckons the club just didn't feel the same anymore, and while he's at pains to say he never wanted to leave Rangers, it's clear that somewhere along the line, he made his mind up. Now, you can respect his honesty, but it doesn't change the fact that it feels like he's jumped ship when we could have used his flair to dig us out of the current rut. And Clement, to his credit, never seemed like he wanted to flog Cantwell off. He kept playing him, even gave him the number 10 spot, which is pretty much the dream for a player like Todd. Even when he had to hook him early in the Aris-Limassol match, the boss praised him for doing the team a favor. But when a lad hands in a transfer request, what are you supposed to do? Can you really trust him to keep giving it 100%? The whole situation is a bit of a damp squib. You get the sense Cantwell could have cemented himself as a fan favorite, but instead he's off, and there'll always be whispers about his commitment when the going gets tough. 3 clubs now, and each time there's been some sort of drama. It's hard not to draw your own conclusions about his mindset. That said, at the end of the day, he's gone, and we move on. Scott Wright's exit to Birmingham City for a tidy £300,000 didn't exactly send shockwaves through Rangers, did it? Let's be honest, the lad wasn't a regular game changer for Rangers, but he was dependable enough when called upon. He got a couple of starts early on this season, even featuring in the Champions League qualifiers, but clearly the club had other ideas and were happy to move him on. And fair play to him. He's hit the ground running, netting a late winner on his debut for Birmingham. You can't knock the timing, can you? Wright's explanation for leaving Rangers makes sense. He fancied a new challenge, and with Birmingham chucking money around like they're trying to escape League One in one season flat, you can see why the move appealed. It all happened quickly, too. 1 minute he's thinking about it, next thing he's packing his bags for St. Andrews. Sometimes that fresh start is exactly what a player needs, and if his debut's anything to go by, he's already repaying their faith. Now, while he's off finding his feet in the 3rd tier down south, Rangers are more focused on sorting out their own mess. We've brought in a busload of new faces, but how many of them really know their way around the Scottish game? Meanwhile, Celtic are looking annoyingly settled, as the Old Firm derby painfully reminded us. Wright's fee might seem like peanuts in modern football, but Rangers clearly felt he was replaceable. And if Birmingham are willing to splash cash, why not? It's time for us to crack on with the players we've brought in and hope they start clicking soon. No one's losing sleep over Wright's departure, but there's no doubt he's landed on his feet down in League One. It's no wonder Haji is fuming. Stuck in football limbo at Rangers, frozen out by Philippe Clement and watching on while the team stutters. You've got to feel for him, especially considering his pedigree. The lad's got talent, no doubt about it, but it seems like Clement's made up his mind and there's no place for him in the first-team picture. Hagi's rejection of Rapid Bucharest was a clear signal that he still believed he had a role to play at Rangers. But with new arrival Nedim Badrami taking up his position, that ship might have sailed. His Romania teammate, Virgil Gita, has hit the nail on the head. Hagi's probably seething and stressed, and who wouldn't be? He's committed to the club, even going on Instagram to reaffirm his loyalty. But Clement's clearly looking to move in another direction. You'd expect Hagi to fight for his place, but there's not much you can do when the manager's already made up his mind. And now he's at risk of being relegated to the B team, or worse, having his contract torn up. That pay rise clause looming over his 100th appearance is a tricky bit of business too. It's no wonder the club might be hesitant to give him more minutes if they're trying to avoid triggering that clause. A move would have been ideal, but with the window now shut, Haji's stuck in this awkward no-man's land until at least January. He's too good to be left on the sidelines, but at the moment, he's not in Clement's plans, and it's hard to see how this resolves without a transfer. From the club's perspective, a sale would have been perfect, get some cash and move on. But now we're left with a player who's probably growing more frustrated by the day, and that can't be good for morale. For Haji, it's a tough pill to swallow, but unless he can find an exit before one of the remaining transfer windows closes, it's going to be a long few months. The international break couldn't have come at a worse time for us, could it? After that grim Old Firm defeat, it's all been doom and gloom around Rangers. 5 points adrift of Celtic already, and with folk already writing off our title chances, the frustration is simmering. To make matters worse, we've got a growing list of injuries to contend with. And it's not like Clement has an endless supply of attacking options at the moment. And then there's Rabbi Matondo. When he hobbled off during that Celtic game, it looked like we might be missing him for up to 3 months, but here's a sliver of good news. Seems we might get him back in 6 to 8 weeks instead. Not exactly a miracle, but we'll take any boost we can get right now, even if it's just shaving off a few weeks of recovery. Matondo was just starting to show some promise, and we really can't afford to have too many attacking players out, especially after a handful left right before the transfer window shut. Clement's squad depth up front isn't exactly brimming, so every fit body counts. Ideally, Matondo would be back right after the international break, ready to inject some pace into our attack. But with the way things are going, we're lucky it's not 3 months on the sidelines. Losing him for 8 weeks is still a blow, but at least it's not as bad as we first feared. Clement will need to be clever in the meantime, finding a way to keep us ticking over until we can get the Welshman back on the pitch. It's been a rough start, but we've got to hope things will start looking up soon. I'll be back with more bombastic and exclusive Rangers news at any moment. If you don't want to miss any, just hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, alright? We are the people.